Hello, 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 everyone. This is Cassandra Williamson with the Transgender and Diverse Veterans of America Action Group and our C3 side too. Big disclaimer. Let me run the disclaimer across the bottom of this screen really quickly first, okay? The opinions expressed here are solely mine and not necessarily those of any particular organization, agency, department, any other person. They are strictly my opinions. And if you're under the age of 18, it is time for you to leave and go find something else to watch because this is not the place for you. Okay? Disclaimer's out there. Now, let me go ahead and hide the disclaimer and we'll go back over. And today happens to be Giving Tuesday. If you're watching out there from wherever, we're broadcasting live across multiple social media platforms, including live on our website right now. Noon every weekday and 6 p.m. every weekday Eastern time. So wherever you are, you can tune in and just see what's going on. The big topic of conversation has been our dissection, basically, of Project 2025, the Mandate for Leadership produced by the Heritage Foundation and 80 plus organizations that all came together to write this thing that does not guarantee the blessings of liberty for every American, but only for some, the ones they like, you know. That's the only way I can put it for you. All right. If you don't see that, well, I don't know what to tell you, but this has to be stopped. We cannot allow in any way a conservative to take over the presidency in 2025. I mean, if they win election in 2024, I mean, they'll get it justifiably. I mean, that's the way the Constitution works. If they do win, they're going to implement Project 2025. And if you don't believe it, just hang around and find out. But regardless of who it is over on the conservative side who wins the presidency, if they do win on January the 20th of 2025 at noon Eastern, after the president says, "So help me God," this new president, if a conservative is in that spot, regardless of who it is right now, they're going to take Heritage Foundation's Project 2025 and implement it right there. I mean, they're going to try to get 100% of it accomplished in that first 180 days. Okay. But this is this is Giving Tuesday. That's what I was trying to get out there. So I wanted to go down here and kind of do a little promo with you for that. So here we go. Hold on. There you go, folks. It's Giving Tuesday. So if you want to help us in any way whatsoever, please go over to, let me get a banner up here that actually will show this for you. Let me just create one right here really quickly. www.tdva-ag.com/DONA. Whoops. NATE. Okay. We'll let it scroll across the bottom. There you go. So it's Giving Tuesday, folks, and, you know, that's what it's about today. We're trying to make sure we can take on the Heritage Foundation and all those other extremist far-right groups out there that are trying their darndest to implement nothing less than, actually, I should say, nothing less than American Christian nationalism at the federal level. It will be authoritarian, theocratic fascism. That's exactly what it is, folks. Whether you believe that or not, just go check it out. Go check out Lawrence Britt's 2003 or 2003 or 2004 article that he wrote on that. Look up Lawrence Britt and fascism. You'll find out some things really quickly. You'll learn some stuff right there. I'm telling you. And you'll see that what Heritage is doing and Dr. Roberts is doing with the Heritage Foundation is theocratic fascism. That's what it is. And the only one of the bunch who actually has the guts to actually say that, by the way, is Matt Walsh. You know, the person over there, the conservative leader over on the far right. In his Twitter profile, it says theocratic fascist. Well, that's not a joke. That's exactly what he is. The others don't have the guts to tell you that, but that's exactly what Matt is. And that's just the way it is, folks. The others are just gutless compared to Matt Walsh. All right, so we're going to do this, talk about that for a little bit. And then let's see, what else we're going to do? We're going to do this and see if it pisses anybody off. Let's drop that one out of the way. It always pisses people off when you do that. Some people. And that's fine, because I need to get under your skin. And right now, I've been trying for a long time now to get people over on the conservative side to talk to me. I've been reaching out to Dr. Roberts and the Heritage Foundation, to Christopher Rufo, to Matt Walsh, any of those other talking heads out there, the extremists over there on that side, and ask them to talk with me about what's going on. And why is it that they're trying to limit the blessings of liberty for certain Americans because, they just don't agree with us. So far, though, they've refused to even talk with me. I keep pointing it out. I keep tagging them and everything I can. I send emails to them if I have their email address. I'll let them know that, look, we're here. You can talk to us. I mean, all this crap that went on with the New College of Florida, where Christopher Rufo is now on the board, appointed down there by Ron DeSantis, as well as Ryan Anderson, also on that advisory board for the New College of Florida. And, originally about half of the student population was LGBT. It was very friendly, very opening to them and accepting, and they had a place where they could actually go and get an education without much threat from the bullies in the community or the bullies on campus, because, most of the people there were LGBT, half at least. So, but now, though, since DeSantis realigned the school to make it look conservative, most of those students aren't coming back now. The college is changing. Lots of the professors are leaving, and there's people down there still fighting and still struggling to make sure they can protect their LGBT students who are there now. And I know that. And, I understand the plight that they're in. I really do. But back about a month and a half ago, they were talking about doing a panel on gender. The new administration of the new college. Well, Aaron in the Morning, declined that offer, thinking that, and rightfully so, thinking that it would be just nothing more than a target, just a hit piece, and that she would not be able to get her words in or be able to say anything. It would just be a hit piece against LGBT people. So she declined the offer. Well, when I found out that she had declined that offer, I reached out to them and said, hey, look, I don't mind coming down there and talking to you. I sent an email to administrators, secretaries in the offices there. I sent a notice to a whole bunch of people. No one in administration reached out to acknowledge even that they had received that letter. No one. I wonder what they're afraid of. I don't know. I wonder what they're afraid of. Anyway, it's just kind of crazy, right? I mean, it's just kind of goofy, crazy that they wouldn't even bother talking to us. I suspect what it is they don't want to put me out on the stage because I represent a narrative they don't want people to see. And I don't know why that is, but that's the only conclusion that I can come to. There are lots of really highly skilled people, knowledgeable people in this community, transgender veterans, and others who aren't veterans, but still highly skilled and highly trained. They're out there. We're here. But for some reason, conservatives won't talk to us. As a matter of fact, I don't see them even talking to some of my friends who are Republican and trans, because we represent a narrative that they can't control, that does not fit into what they want to present us as being. Okay. And that's all I can think. That's the only thing that I can come up with. They just don't want to deal with certain people because, we kind of don't fit the mold, Anyway, that's on them. I'll keep trying. The next big thing is if they don't do it, I'm going to show up on the doorstep at their offices and be out there with some people going, hey, let us come and talk to you. Why are you shutting us out? Don't you think the blessings of liberty belong to us? Hey, you Heritage, you got it? Heritage Action, you got that? Dr. Roberts, you got it? All right, let's take a gander through the news, okay? I'm going to go over and share the page if it's still up top where I can find it. Yeah, it is. And obviously, here's a daily reminder, go vote. You can't let this thing be part of our future, because our America, if a conservative wins in November 2024, our America will be so vastly different and unwelcoming to all the people who are different than, that whitewashed bunch. That. But, daily reminder, make sure you go vote, cast your vote, get people and get your friends, especially those in the middle of the country and flyover country, get them on board with you, but don't do it in an abrasive, abusive way. Go out there and just be respectful of people. Let them say whatever the heck they say. That's on them, okay? I mean, if you're standing in front of someone, let me say, like at a grocery store or convenience store, you're in the shopping line, or you're at the window of a pharmacy and all this, and you're up at the front desk or whatever, and you go in there and then they use honorifics that you don't like to describe you, well, that's on them. Let it go. Because every time we make a big deal out of something like that, it gets put out there in the news, and it just feeds into building this entire narrative that they want to present of us. So be conscious, be aware of that fact, because everything that you do as a trans person, as a transgender veteran, has an impact on the entire community. And if you go out and fussing and fighting and fuming every time something happens, you become the image of what they don't want. And you will become the poster child of why they're opposed to transgender people and our right to exist freely in this country that we served in. So let me just stop sharing for a minute, because I'm actually into something that I wanted to talk about anyway. Go back over here. So let me just say this again, all right? And I know this is probably going to piss a bunch of people off, but at this point, I don't care. All right. If you are a transgender person and you are demanding that other people respect you, guess what the other side of that coin is? You've got to respect them too, their choices, their decisions. If they call you something you don't like, and then you jump all over them for that, you become the poster child that the right uses to attack us. It's got to stop, because right now, those people doing that are only thinking of themselves. Those people in our community who are doing those things are just thinking of themselves. They don't have a picture of the broader, they don't have the big picture of things. They don't see it as being something that, that your actions could impact a larger community. It will. Every single thing that happens that a trans person does somewhere, there's a spotlight on that and becomes fodder for the right. So you've got to start thinking about the impact of your actions on the entire community. And now that we're trying to take on Heritage Foundation and all the crap that's coming out of that with Project 2025, it's imperative that every single one of us walk and carry ourselves with honor and integrity and decency and respect for other people. You cannot tell someone else, you cannot demand someone else say things that you like. That's on them. If they do something stupid, or if they go out there and call you all kinds of crappy names or whatever like that, so what? It's on them. And that's one of the biggest problems, biggest challenges we've got in this community right now, is that we've got a few people out there who are, more interested in just making a name for themselves. And most often, and more often than not, that name happens to be not good. The representation that you're presenting to the world is one of intolerance for other people's views. in this community, we have got to stand up and do the right thing every time. We have to do it more so than any other group out there, because the slightest little thing gets put on a poster somewhere over on the right and used against us. Every time it happens. Every time. People going through, I've seen clips over on the right of some people in our community, people out there going, I demand you call me sir or ma'am or whatever, and you can look at me and tell that I'm a trans man or a trans woman and all this kind of stuff, or I'm gender fluid and today I'm using different pronouns and stuff like that. Well, let me tell you something. In this country, people have the right to believe what they want and to say what they want, as long as it does not incite violence and does not provide material support to terrorist groups, a terrorist group like Hamas, for instance. But they have that right. We serve for that right for them. What gives us the right to tell them that they have to say things that we want to hear from them? I'll tell you something else. If there is a business out there that does not want to serve you, then don't go there. Doggone it, why is it so hard to do that? There are lots of other options. You don't need to prove a point. What you need to do is go find another way to get your product or service that you want. It's time we start thinking of the impact on a larger scale, what my actions are going to do for the whole community. And I know that might be a harsh thing for a lot of people, because I know people who, just fly off the handle at every little thing. And all I can do is look back at it and go, where did that come from? Did you not serve for those people to believe what they want? Regardless, and I'm going to say this too, regardless of what the laws are regarding, human rights in your state, city, county, community, whatever, regardless of those laws, we still serve for the right for other people to believe and do what they think is right in their own way. Who are we to tell them to think otherwise? Because that's what we're expecting. We want to be able to live freely in this country, don't we? Well, right now, organizations like the Heritage Foundation, Heritage Action, American First Legal, and a whole slew of them, Alliance Defending Freedom, Eagle Forum, all these groups out there that are targeting trans people, going after LGBT people, going after minorities, all those groups out there doing those things, they will look to any slightest offense that offends them in any way and put a spotlight on that and plaster your name and picture all across the damn country. And why? Because they want power. They're wrong to do those things. Granted, absolutely wrong to do those things. They're horrendous. Whenever you have in the forward to the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, when you have the president of the organization, Dr. Roberts, saying he wants these terms deleted from the whole of the federal enterprise. Can you guess what those words are? Anyone? Wants these words deleted from the whole of federal enterprise. Sexual orientation, gender identity, gender anything, diversity, equity, and inclusion, reproductive health, reproductive rights, all those terms removed from everything in the federal government. I'm talking about everything, like, for instance, every policy, every regulation, every rule out there, every grant application that's put out, everything, every piece of legislation, those terms will not be used if they get elected into the White House. And don't tell me they can't do it. And yeah, I know that a lot of it will end up in litigation and all this stuff. But the idea is, yeah, if it ends up in litigation, maybe you'll get something out of it. That's the whole idea, We can't allow them to have the something because everything they're putting out has been an attack on minorities in the country. They actually said, when I read off that list of things a minute ago that Dr. Roberts wants to delete across the whole of the federal enterprise, They put a comma at the end of all that, and they said, and any other term that is a threat, basically, paraphrasing it slightly, that is a threat to the or challenges the First Amendment rights of Americans. Now, his definition of American is pretty darn narrow, don't you think? I mean, look at what they just included to be deleted and then put a comma after the end of that. Apparently, what they're saying and what he's saying right there is that LGBT people have no First Amendment protections. They're saying that all those people that fall within the umbrella of diversity, equity, and inclusion have no First Amendment protections. Bodily autonomy, no First Amendment protections, no constitutional protections. That's in one sentence on page 4, the bottom of page 4 in the forward of Project 2025. Go check it out. It's written by Dr. Roberts. But that's not the only time that they actually mentioned that in that first section in the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025. Next paragraph on page 5, they start out with conflating or actually trying to get people to see that, pornography and child molestation and all this kind of stuff is all connected to being transgender. But you know something? This is what's happened to every minority group that the larger population doesn't want around. Don't believe it? Well, let's take a look back to, say, 1949, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, that period of time right there, when the military was integrating the races, integrating Black people and white people together within units in the military. You know what some of the opposition that was used against that was? We don't want these over-sexualized people in there. We don't want these people who are into pornography and crime and violence and all this kind of stuff. We don't want those people mixed with our people. And it's like, what? They did the same thing then. Then in the 50s, when the Lavender Scare, if you don't know what the Lavender Scare is, go look the thing up. It's when they purged gay people from out of the State Department primarily, but it was across the whole of the federal government on the grounds that they posed a security risk or security clearance risk. So they got rid of, about 20,000 people, I think. They did the same thing then. Tied those people, gay people and lesbian people, with pornography. They put in the children and the women and how it would influence them and all that kind of stuff. They did the same thing. And they turned around and did it again in the 60s and 70s. I mean, they have learned that narrative works. So now they're attaching it to transgender people. But the horrible part about it is the fact that they are turning transgender people into an ideology, as ever they're trying to. They're trying to convince their part of the world, their readers, to believe that this is a choice. Because whenever people can accept or not accept an ideology, like conservatism is an ideology, republicanism is an ideology, socialism, communism, liberalism, all those things are ideologies. And you can find every single one of those ideologies and more within any given population, folks. But transgender is not an ideology. We are that, okay? Period. Flat out. That's it. Get over it. We're done with it, okay? That's exactly what it is. We are that. I happen to be, establishment liberal with progressive tendencies. That's me personally. But we're not an ideology, folks. And they said that in that second paragraph there on page 5. It said that, these are not entitled to First Amendment protections. They lumped in pornography again with transgender people and threw in the children and the women and all that kind of stuff. It's the same old tired trope that they've used to attack minorities. Oh my gosh, forever. Okay. It feels like forever. At least I just stopped looking in the 40s, okay, 40s, late 40s, 50s period, bring it up that way. That kind of narrative has been used then every time. And it works because it riles up those who aren't able to see that this is a narrative that's bigger. If they can get you to just see this one particular thing and ignore what they did in the past, well, with the same kind of narrative and words and language, well, then they can probably get you. They do things like this is also mentioned in the foreword. I think it's the second paragraph, talking about, let me see, inflation is ravaging the family budget. Drug overdose deaths continue to escalate. And then they said, and the toxic normalization of transgenderism is infecting our schools and children. And I'm going, crap, that was in like the second paragraph of the foreword that Dr. Roberts wrote. Excuse me. So this stuff, they're using they're using the techniques and the methods that they know work, that drives their people to more strongly believe everything. So here's what they did with that one about, inflation ravaging the family budget. We know inflation is bad. We know that drug overdose deaths do continue to increase, but suicides also continue to increase, and all that kind of stuff is going on. We know that. Those two statements are true. Then they want you to believe that the third one is true as well. And they're using propaganda and Psych 101 on you. And if you don't see it, I don't know what to tell you. I got 2 comments over here. Let me see what's. Let me see. Here we go. Lisa Marie Lozano. I'm not saying to be an outspoken bully or a bitchy little snowflake, but I'm damned if I'm going to be anyone's doormat either. Same. I agree. You don't have to be someone's doormat. Don't take it if they're coming directly after you. But if you're standing in a line somewhere in a grocery store and somebody just misgenders you or something like that, and you know darn well that, or whatever it is, don't take it to heart. Just go on through the line. Don't make a big stink out of it. Yeah. But don't be a doormat. Absolutely. Don't just roll over, because we know better than that, right? But sometimes you have to understand that what they're doing is on them and not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of them and not you. Be stronger, be bold, be out there, be real every moment of the day. Don't hide from people. I mean, don't play games with pseudonyms and all kinds of shit like that, like I see over on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that many times. That just riles me up. I know people do that with the pseudonyms and things, and they do that to protect their professional identities, probably, and their communities. They're like Thomas Jefferson, for instance. Well, no, I don't want to get into a history thing. I can get really professorial in a hurry. But, so that's a lot of what I was wanting to talk about initially about all this. So the next thing I want to do is kind of hit some of the news stories that are out there on the top that's floating around right now. If you don't mind, we'll go take a look at them. All right, you ready? Here we go. Back to that one, the page I was on earlier. Jeez. Yeah, I can get off on those little tangents pretty easily. Okay, here we go. So we just mentioned that. Make sure you go vote. And make sure you're always thinking of something of the bigger community. Haley's plan to gut the government is even worse than Trump's. Okay. Assault on civil service. Yeah. And that's going to happen. I mean, if a conservative wins, regardless of who it is, the first thing they're going to try to do is implement what was known as Schedule F. That's something that Trump did at the end of his administration, the last administration, which was, Schedule F basically turns civil servants into at-will employees, meaning they can be fired at will, hired at will. In other words, it's going to be a spoils system. Basically, you got the money for that spot? Come on in. No, your cousin Joe Bob, Uncle Bob Smith's mom, right? Come on in. I know you. We got you covered. Come on. Here's a spot for you. You can run the CIA. You can run the State Department, or you can work down in that office in the corner right down there and be our political operative. Most of these positions, by the way, and many of these positions, if you read through Project 2025, you'll find that there are political appointees all across the spectrum, everywhere. And you know what it reminds me of? Back in the day when the Soviet Union was big out there and everybody was concerned about them, there was a political operative on every submarine, on every ship, to make sure that nothing was done or said that went contrary to the government's position, which in that case was communism. So they're doing the same crap. They want to put political appointees in these offices and these departments and these agencies and go in there. And then after they get Schedule F implemented, the first day that this person takes over as president, if a conservative wins, then they're going to implement Schedule F, folks, and then put in their political appointees. Now, I just read a story, and it's been here in one of my tabs at the top, talking about they're not going to be able to get a lot of these people confirmed for some of the high-level positions in all these offices and agencies and all that kind of stuff through a Congress or through the Senate that is likely going to be really closely divided again, So what they've decided to do is just don't even really bother. I mean, you can give them a few names and whatever like that, but just go ahead and put somebody in there and let them be in the acting capacity. Acting Secretary of State, acting head of CIA, acting head of the Veterans Affairs, acting head of Transportation, and all of those agencies and all those departments. And that way they can just stay there indefinitely and do the job regardless of whether they're confirmed by the Senate or not. That's what they're going to do. Anyway, I'm not going to bother with that. I already know that what this is coming from over on that side. Can't even bring themselves to denounce neo-Nazis. Texas GOP's internal war over Hitler apologists. Really? I did read this earlier. I think it was last week or so, maybe, when the Texas platform, political party, Republican Party in Texas, did not disavow Nazis and Nazism, even though it was brought up for a vote. But they're going to let those people be right. They're already in there. Fascism's already in this whole panoply of things out on that conservative far right side. It's already there. Now it's just theocratic fascism. Okay. And let me see. Who do we have there? No. The danger ahead. Let's see. Speaker Mike Johnson frets that high schoolers increasingly identify as LGBT in fundraising email. We have too much to repent for. This guy does not believe that there should be separation between church and state. He's one of the Christian nationalists, folks, one of the dominionists out there. And that's what he believes. And that's what a vast majority of the evangelical right side believes. That it's a misunderstanding about the separation of church and state, and that the founding fathers didn't intend for that to be the case. But no, in reality, they did intend that to be the case. But, whatever. But that's what this guy believes. And is not afraid to tell you. But his biggest concern are LGBT people, because we're the wow. Jeez. Anyway, danger ahead. Okay, so this is a story by David Frum, who is a speechwriter for, I believe, Bush, one of the presidents. Anyway, but actually it starts over here with this. If Trump wins, this is from The Atlantic, by the way, and they have a series of articles that they're putting out from these different people: David Frum, Ann Applebaum, McKay Coppins, Caitlin Dickerson, different ones down through you. You can read the names yourself. But each one of these, it talks about a different thing that if Trump wins. Now, look, you could replace that with if a conservative wins, and you would be just as right, because that's what Heritage is doing. They're preparing this for whomever wins the conservative presidency in November 2024, if they win. Sorry. Every bit of this. You can go right down the line and see the whole thing, and the entire thing that's come out as Project 2025. period, flat out. That's what it is. But it's easy to focus on all the things Trump wants to do because obviously he is vindictive and hateful and oh my God, he'd turn the entire federal government into a weapon against all those people who don't like him. Don't believe it? Well, he's already pissed. I mean, he's going to be the criminal in chief, according to David Frum. The criminal in chief. If he gets elected, we're just going to start calling Trump the criminal in chief, because that's exactly what he will be. Anyway, I'm not going to delve into those two things right now. And you got another one here. What is this one? Biden's war on faith and family continues. This story is out of the State of the Union by Joseph Ellis. And just talking about the 19 state attorneys general and conservative and religious organizations who opposed the requirements for adoption services to not be biased against gender identity and sexual orientation and all that kind of stuff. Just let people be themselves. Wow. The vast majority of the homeless kids and children out there are LGBT because they had no acceptance from their parents, no acceptance from communities, and they found family somewhere else. So these people. Anyway, let me go over here and stop sharing again. I'm going to get off of this one. I should go back over. All right. So this is what Lisa says. And try defeating stupidity by using intelligence, wisdom, and quick wit. Yes, exactly. That works every time, Lisa. It does. For example, when they say, we want to protect marriage. Okay, fine. I'll agree. Then ban and outlaw divorce. And that has nothing to do with who you marry. It has to do with taking your vows seriously and using your devotion commitment, your head, not your heart, or your hormones, feelings, to make the wise choice of proposing and or accepting and saying, I do, just outsmart the idiots. I agree, Lisa. You have to outsmart the idiots. I call them widiots. But you're so right. That's exactly what you have to do. And sometimes, the humor works a lot of times. This is what I do. Let me give you an example. After I've told someone several times, well, let me see. What was I going to do with that? I just lost my train of thought. It went choo-chung. Anyway, I had a story on the tip of my tongue that I was going to tell you, but it's gone now. But Lisa, you're right. And I appreciate you saying this. You have to outsmart the idiots. You've got to be willing to use a little humor, throw some humor in there. I know what it was now. There have been people who ask me about my voice or something like that. They'll call me sir whenever I pick up the phone. That's fine. That's on them. I don't really care. At this point, I don't care. They can do that as much as they want to. That's on them. They're responsible for their actions. Even if I have told them repeatedly, it's still on them. It's not on me. I don't have to be their blunt force instrument that changes their minds. However, what I typically do is if they start saying, what about the voice? I've had several people say, what about that voice? What about your voice? It doesn't sound like female. I said, well, Lauren Bacall sounded like this, pretty close. Only it was more with an Italian influence. But anyway, it was, people do that all the time to me, and that's fine with me. And I'll just say, look, I've got several voices I can use. I can go over there and tap into, cut off the low end and everything like that, or cut the low end out and make it sound a little more rhythmic and all of this and stuff, and just let it go right all along and not worry about it. But I have another voice that goes back down here to this Marine Corps side. So I've got that voice too, and that's the one I'm more comfortable with. And so I gave up some time ago about getting my voice to be more feminine sounding. I kind of just gave up with that because when I was taking speech classes from the University of Alabama a number of years ago, after several months, I can get my voice to sound a whole lot better. I just cut out all that gravelly rough end of it, and make it smoother. I was able to do that and do it successfully and got to take the Ferrari out for a drive at least 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 times, whatever, but that's what, you can do that and it works. It works fine. But they came to me and said, let's do a check of the dialect that you're using and see, then it'd make it a lot easier for us to kind of train your voice in that direction because you already have that foundation there. So we did a little study. A couple weeks later, they came back and said, hey, it sounds like you have a voice from Eastern Kentucky. And I go, darn, I worked so hard to get rid of that. Oh my God. I worked so hard to get rid of that. No, it didn't work. It didn't work. The tone was still in there from Eastern Kentucky and I couldn't escape it. Then they said the thing that really cinched it for me. They said, if we can make you sound like a girl from Eastern Kentucky, it'd be the easiest thing to do since your voice already has that tonal background or the dialectical background to make that happen, the foundation for that. And I said, look, I love my sisters. I love my family from Eastern Kentucky and all of that. I do not and will not sound like them. So I just left it alone. And I said, okay, I'm done. Okay. Jeez. Humor works a lot. It does. As a matter of fact, Lady Ballers, the thing that Matt Walsh was involved in, and others came together and did that little movie thing. It's funny. And just laugh with them at it. That's fine. Don't make a big stink out of that thing. It's horrendous. It's a horrendous little clip. Its intentions are vile and ugly and downright evil. But just laugh with it and go on. Okay, let me put over here what Lisa said next. If Trump is ever reelected, the American people will officially be the least intelligent nation on the planet. Half of us are already there, Lisa. That's true. Oh, my God. Yeah, well, we're not into science in this nation, never have been. I think it was, who was that, Arthur Clarke who said something like that? Or maybe it was, I don't know, somebody said it. No, we're not into science in this nation. No, not at all. Okay, so with that, I'm just going to say thank you so much for being here today. Come back at 6 this evening. If you want to come on board and have a conversation with me, kind of back and forth, where I can put you up on the stage beside me, I would love to be able to do that. Just reach out to me at this email address. Let me get the banner back up here at the email address. So reach out to me at this email address and let me know that you'd like to come on and talk, because for the past 3-4 months, I think basically it's been me up here just yapping, and a few other people have come in. We've had President Trayshawn Perez in here with us, and we've had a couple other people on board as well. Jovan Wolf, I think, from out of Transcan Work in California, was on here with us at one time. I think he was. I don't know. I'm losing track of all this. I had a couple different people come on board and actually carry on a conversation, just laugh and carry on some conversations and talk and let people see us as real people. Okay. That's what we have to start doing. All right. So with that in mind, let me go back up here to this other one. Let me see. Lisa says, I miss voting for the best candidate and forced to settle for the lesser of two evils. Yeah, well, that's typically what it is. Last 2 elections, I didn't vote for Hillary. I didn't vote for Biden. I technically did, but that's because what I did vote for was anything but Trump. Right. A lot of people in that boat. A lot of people right there, Lisa. Absolutely. And I know, and I'll tell you this too, is that regardless of whether these kind of attacks against this community, transgender veterans, transgender people, or gender diverse people, or LGBT people, or any minority population, regardless of where that attack originates, if it's the left or the right, I will be opposed to it. And there's a lot of stupid crap that happens on both sides of this fence, on all sides of it. Okay. And so I'm going to call it out. And I'll call out people in our own community who are being just stupid because they're hurting the entire community. But I'll also call out idiotic crap from either the left or the right, ideological positions, So that's just me. I'm at that point where, we've got to fight. We have got to stand up and fight. And I'm not talking about physical altercations. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about going after those who want to see us removed from the public square. And with that, let me close out with This Is Giving Tuesday. I just want to go back to this banner over here. And I'm going to, This is Giving Tuesday. So let me get you this one up here. Here we go. Let me play that one again, just really quickly before I go back over to the next comment. Okay, Lisa, I'll message you. All right. Lisa Marie, okay, let me go back to my other banners back here, my brand stuff. And once again, I'm going to play this and we'll close out with our typical endings for these things. Okay, so here we go. Da-da-da-da-da-da, Giving Tuesday. One more time on the Giving Tuesday.